Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Carrie Waltz and I share tips, tools, and techniques for the artist in you. And today's video is my first attempt to come back to my Italian journal and finish the paintings that I didn't have time to do when I was there. I have sketched them off and I was a little rusty. So I chose to do this view today. Follow along with me if you can. This was one of my favorite places to walk in the morning and in the evening if I had time. And you could see Cortona on the hillside in the far distance. I've sketched this off. I don't know that you can see it. This is the first time I'm filming a demo since I've been to Italy. So I'm a little rusty. I'm going to be using the same paints that I took with me. Well, I'm just going to start as though I was there. There's a light blue sky in the distance, kind of clouds, and then there's low clouds that almost cover Cortona and the hills back here. You really don't see them very well in the photo. I'm going to wet the lid of this. There was some blue in this before, and this is a vivid blue Michael Harding. I got that because to me it's a convenient sky color. And this is another more of a purpley tone, but I'm going to go ahead and lay that in very quickly, kind of behind and between some of these trees, because I have the scene drawn. I can just lay in across this where the sky is. Probably could have pre-wet the sky to lay it in a little smoother, but that's okay. I squeezed the water out so that I could get a little bit more. I wanted a little grayer down here because it was sort of a gray day toward the horizon. And I want this a little brighter up here. So that's good enough. Lay it in. While I've got the blue, this green is fairly light. I'm just going to add some of that green to the blue. And I'm going to hit these trees back here. I'm going to tilt it down. I'm going to tilt it so that the water angles down and not up. Putting in the light colors of the trees. See, because the trees are wet. Whoops, that's going to take off. The trees are wet because the paper's wet. It's going to take off more than probably what I really wanted it to, but that's okay. What I want to capture in this is the walkway. And there were some darker tones in this part. So I'm just going to go ahead and lay them in. This tree was darker. See, I'm starting to get some harder lines because it's starting to dry out. So I can fill in the negative space behind the trees now. I want a little darker on this one because it was behind this other one. And as the paper dries, you can control the line better. So you see it's not going out too much farther than where I want it to. I'm not squeezing any more water on this brush. I'm just letting the water that was wet on the paper kind of soften the edges. And as it dries a little bit more, then I'll come in and add a little bit more. So there's some dark. See how it's puddled? Okay. Oh, you know what I forgot to get? I forgot to get a paper towel. Luckily, there's one right here. All right. I'm going to just pick up that puddle because I don't need it to be that wet. There. That's good enough. Okay, while I've got some dark on my brush, I'll go ahead and pick up some more because it should be dry enough in here. I want it slightly damp here, but not so damp that it takes off. And this is, I'll let it move up and into the sky. And go ahead and pick up some other tones because I don't want all that to be one color note. gets kind of boring if it's one color note. Okay, see how that's a hard edge right here and that's soft? It's because this paper is dry. So because this has a lot of foliage that we're going to put in it, I'm just dragging. I put a little purple in my brush, and the purple and green kind of neutralize each other. And while I have that nice dark green from the purple and green mixture, I'm going to go ahead and put some more up here and make that a little more specific shape, because this sky is now dry enough. I don't like that color as much. I'll add a little light to it. And this is the darkest tree. And this one will then take shape kind of following the arch. It's a little darker over here. A little more of that violet to put in there. And it runs into another tree that's a different type, or a shrub. And I don't know what's back here. It doesn't matter. But see, I love this softness, and I like the varied edges here. All right, this should be dry enough that I can now put in a little bit of distant trees back there. I want it to be more of a neutral color, not real bright and vibrant. That's got to read cooler because it's further away. So I'm going to add a little blue to that. And a little bit of different colors in here. All right, while I have a little blue on my palette, mix that kind of together, kind of a bluish green. I'm going to lay in these distant hills back here. That's Cortona. Oh, that's still kind of taken off a little bit more than I want it to, but I want Cortona to be relatively light and not, see, okay, so that's good. It's given a soft edge there. So while I'm letting that dry, so I don't totally overwork it, on my palette there was a little bit of pale brown. I'm going to test it. It's all right if I... And the edge here. Wanted a little golder than that for the grassy area. We were there in September, and there was a lot of greenery that had been already harvested. I'm not sure what they planted out there. Some of them, there were some fields of, it might have been barley. I can't quite remember. But anyway, it was pretty. I don't mind different colors in the foliage and the ground. And then this was all, there was a lot of cattails, I believe, is what was there. So there was kind of a ditch in through here that was kind of cool. And it gets really dark in through here, so that we're going to play up that purple and some of this shadow area. We'll come back in and make more sense of this in a minute. You'll probably go, why in the world did she put purple? Colors are transparent in watercolor, and we'll add to it in a minute. There was some still green out there. There was green along this grassway. It was pretty flat. And one thing I liked about my palette is I chose a green, I believe it's sap green, but I wanted a green already mixed because it's as a convenience color. I wanted to be able to just pick it up and go. And then you can tint it different directions. That's a little too much purple. But this, I like purple shadows or cool shadows. So when I have purple in my brush and I don't necessarily clean my brush very well from the green, then it just kind of neutralizes itself, because green and red are opposites on the color wheel, and purple has red in it. So now I'm going to add just shrubbery. That's the lightest tone. Picking a little bit of purple again off my palette, creating, when I hit that green, it just kind of neutralizes it again, knocking it down to be less intense, kind of a shadowy color, almost brown. And that's fine. As the shadows are going to have to be a lot darker, and I'll probably end up getting some gouache and using some of that. Again, I'm doing all of this with the one brush. This is a Pentel large water brush, and looking at the point, I might have damaged the point a bit, but I'm not getting as skinny of a point as I'd like right now, but that's all right. I'm gonna let me look at it. Well, it's still a pretty good point. I'm not very patient sometimes with my waiting for things to dry. All right, while this is drying a little bit, I'm gonna go back up to the trees. I have a less opaque watercolor that I'm gonna see. This is almost like gouache, because it's more, not less opaque, less transparent. Hello. So I'm going to lay this in, some of the branches in here, and then I'm going to come back with more of a burnt sienna, and that was actually too straight, and hit that with shadows. So this will be the light hitting the tree, and then we'll come back with the shadows and make it a little more realistic. This is way too light, but that's okay. We'll put darker colors over it, and it will hopefully work. There's a lot of greenery through here, and I can't put that right now because I've got to let that dry. This is dried really pale. So let's mix a little different color green. Just bend the color a bit. It's not bad. All right. It's a lot darker along the edge, and along here it was darker. Shadows, grasses. Let's put a little red in there, not just purple, and that'll shift the color a little bit. Looking at where it's dark. This is all right. Through here, add a little bit more here. A little bit darker in here. That's not dark enough. Kind of squint my eyes, just seeing where the green is. Sometimes I just need to paint in between the branches to let the branches show. Probably did that a little too much. It's okay. What happens when you don't look at your reference photo, all that. I had to put my reference photo on my netbook in front of me so I could see it, because I'm filming with my phone. And I want to make some of these trees and foliage look a little different. So once the paper's dry enough, you can come back and just put in some different textures so that it reads a little different. I need a darker brown. I think the trunk has been dry enough. I'm just picking up kind of a reddish brown that I have on my palette. And I'm going to try to hit the left side of the trunk. Barely touching. Could be a little darker. You know, some of the tree, you just see little bits of some of the branches. You don't see it all. So you don't want your branches to be solid because your foliage is in front of some of the branches and you don't see it all. This is a little, it had a red cast to it because it was the afternoon, you know, the evening sun. I believe this was on a late afternoon walk, not a morning walk. And even though right now I'm using the same color for all these trees are not the same type of tree. Like right here is different from these. So you want to vary the colors on the trunks anyway because of that. And then some of the branches are behind the light, so they won't get as much light as some of the other. So I'm just going to come in and make this part of the tree a little darker. I like that brown better. It's not quite as red. And throw in a few little bitty branches that might be out here. And there's some dark in through here. That may be wrong. Maybe it shouldn't be quite that brown. Okay, let's take a look. See what we can do with this. Okay, I've got some kind of a pale yellow. Not sure how, no, that's going to be, it's sort of okay. It's cutting in some. But see, I'm not getting I'm not getting the teeny tiny line that I like. I'm getting some, but not as much as I'd like. Yeah, that's better. I didn't pay much for this brush, but that's okay. We just want to see that we have foliage here. These are cattails and other things, and I'm gonna put some dark down toward the bottom. And back here, there was a shadow of some tree right in here, and I'm not really gonna necessarily include that because the tree's not in it, but just kind of indicate some foliage and lay it down. When you lay your brush flat against, almost overhanded, you can drag out some texture. I'm going to do that. I like to do that in the road too. You load your brush. Ooh, that's too purple. Let's go with gray. You load your brush, lay it down, and drag it over. It's okay. This is still, you know, again, the joy of just, hey, I'm trying to capture the memory of the walk when we would walk down here. And whether it be morning, evening, we even did one time in the evening, we walked way down here and looked at the lights of Cortona from a distance. And what I'm doing here is with a little Payne's gray mixed with some other colors. I'm just exaggerating some of the edges of where the darkest darks are in the trees. I'm going to push actually some of the, again, watercolor is transparent, so I'm pushing back some of the green by adding the Payne's gray over it just to push it in the background. Payne's gray and green, it's a mixture of what's back there. This tree is shaped a little different. But what I'm liking right now with this one is this shadow. And I want to continue the shadow of the road right back here as it bends. And cast shadows take the shape of what they land on. Okay, let's see, there's a branch. Let me get that branch. When you paint branches, try different directional strokes. See if it's easier for you to pull or drag your brush this way or pull it this way. There's different ways for you to decide what direction is best for you. And I'll show you what I mean by that. Okay, for example, I just loaded my brush with purple. If I'm going to do branches, is it easier for me to pull away and barely lift and control it this way? Again, barely touch. Or is it easier for you to maybe work upside down and pull it towards you? So you've got to figure out, okay, do I need to turn my painting upside down and pull it toward me? Or am I all right working away from me? Or pull it this way? So don't feel like just because your painting is oriented in one direction that you have to keep it that way. And sometimes filming, I think sometimes it's like, man, I need to flip this around. But I'm not going to do that right now. I think it's fine. It's good enough. Okay, I'm looking at my photo, and I need to make the edge of the shadows much darker. So right along in here, this foliage. And I'm just kind of skipping my brush around. I don't know if that helped. Might put a little too much in there. There's a lot going on over here and not much going on over there. But I think if I darken the shadow along here, it'll also help it make sense. It's really dark right now, but remember, watercolor dries lighter. And I want to spread this out just a little bit. And some of this over just a little bit to indicate that it's casting shadows. Just drag it. You don't want it all in the same pattern. And so while we're doing that, we're going to put a light bit over here. And a little bit more as it goes around the corner. And I want to do a little bit more build up of what's on this side, so it kind of balances with what's over here. I loaded my brush with some fairly thick yellowish green to indicate a different type of plant. And we'll just play with adding a little bit of texture in through here, a little variation in the foliage. I don't want to do a lot because I don't even know what kind of plants are over here. But the whole side of the hill was full of something. So when I can just, ooh, that's too dark. When I can just indicate too dark, lift off some shadows. Or lift off the dark. There we go. Wonder what happened there. I didn't get that wet at all, and that looks really weird. How did that happen? Okay, we're going to let this be a tree behind another tree. It's almost like it's repelling. No telling. Maybe some wax paper was rubbed on it or something. I'm going to put a little shadow on this side, a little bit more over here. Try to cover that up. And this is distance. In the distance. That might be good enough. I'm all right with it because I know exactly where it is. I could put some other foliage out here. My white pen, ever so lightly. Oops, sorry, didn't mean to hit the... My paper slightly damp where Cortona is, and just by putting in some little bitty dots of light, a reminder that, yeah, there's all the bunch of hillside homes and buildings that are on the side of the mountain. Do want one more thing. This line right here of the ground did not separate enough. I want that to be more golden. Oh, that's too dark. Yeah, add a little yellow in through here. That'll work. This is the road that got us to our farmhouse. I can still see a little bit of the light edge of the tree here. I'll go ahead and add some paint on that to fill up to that pencil line at least. Give it a little texture. Kind of like that. I'm not at all looking at the time. Not sure how I've done. I'm a little rusty. If I want these to look like cattails. I'll make a couple of them look like cattails. I'll know they're cattails, whether y'all do or not. Well, I thought it was through, and when it dried, I looked back at it and the pictures, and I decided I really wanted to come back and add that orange glow that I was seeing as the sun would hit these trees in the evening. And so I wanted to put that in. Excuse my awkwardness. It's just different when I hadn't painted and demoing in a while, and I want to get back and do that on a more regular basis. And I haven't done any live feeds in a while, and that just might force me to do that. There, I like that better. Gonna add some orange into this foreground, capture the glow of the light. Might have overdone it a little bit, but hey, it's okay. It's my journal. Let me know if you got anything out of this, what you liked, what you'd like to see. I'm going to definitely change my water bottle so you don't hear it clanking when I rinse it off. But other than that, I'm happy with today. Thank you for joining me. If you're still here, please like and subscribe. I really like to hear your comments, and y'all have a blessed day.